so close to the last Satisfactory video, and I discovered this genius technique. Who would have thought? My goodness, that's so cool. Why have I never... It's fine. It's fine. You know, we're always learning, bunnies. We're always learning. And I'm curious if that's... Oh my god, does that... That is epic. Look at that. No belts at all. That's straight... What is this, a Rubik's Cube? Or... Oh my god, that's like lift-on-lift action right there. That's... It's almost obscene. It's kind of amazing. I'm okay with this. Now, it's been a hot minute since the very last Satisfactory video, so I figured I'd start right here as we ease on back into Satisfactory. Now, what we have in front of us is a completed operation to move packaged water over to our nuclear power site so that we can get all of our nuclear power plants up and running. This is 75 packagers with 90 drone ports and 9,000 cubic meters of water, all being moved over to the nuclear power site, even though the nuclear power site is sitting right on top of a bunch of water. Honestly, if you ask me why I did it, I don't know. It's mostly because I wanted more drones, and this is a good way to make it happen. Is it efficient? I don't know. But is it cool? I think so. Essentially, each of these little ditties right here is just based off the same exact blueprint, and it's just pumping away in order to move 600 cubic meters each set of 5 packagers, and it just continues to churn. So I really like how this has turned out. I think it is kind of a lot for very little impact, but you know what? It definitely tickles me pink. We definitely got more drones, right? So here we go. We're back at the hub, and we're going to head on over to the nuclear power site. This is the new and improved nuclear power site. I'm actually going to hop on into a buggy just so that we can actually get around a little more efficiently, because it's gotten a little bit bigger. A little bit bigger. So let's go in and just turn, and I'm actually going to turn and burn all the way back to the very end of the uranium section, and then we'll get a better idea on the flyover. Yeah, so this is just going to be a brief one. My god. How things have grown. All right, let's actually just chill right here. So we're just going to go in and flip a bit of a UE there and hop on out. So if we actually elevate, you can see, just for point of reference, there is the source of our resource wall. You can see drones flying in and out all over the place, and you can see the uranium nuclear power in the background here, these 3 green ones in the distance. Now, this is the beginning of the plutonium section. You can see all of the uranium waste slowly flowing through here, and then it's entering and being recycled very close by. So if we continue from where we left off, this is what has been built in my absence, I suppose. So this is all plutonium buildings right here, and you can see that each one of the plutonium reactors P1 through 8 are now fully operational, and in the background you can actually see that there are all of the plutonium waste barrels all flowing through right here, and they're all being supplied. You can see all of the drones that came from our water operation moving 9,000 cubic meters of water. That's a lot of drones. And we are currently generating 270,000 megawatt or 270 gigawatt of power. So very cool, but that's not the whole point, because let's be real, I'm probably using more power than I'm making. But you know, it is what it is. It's an exercise, really. So these are all operational. Fixonium nuclear power down there isn't doing too much. Right next door, this is where we're making the heavy modular frame. This whole single-story building right here, and then we've got an additional set of drones all moving in additional products. And it's looking pretty good, I must say. It definitely starts to feel a bit like I don't know, like a factory town as opposed to a factory to me, but I dig it. I really do. We are actually through quite a lot of the process to get to the point where we can bring these Fixonium nuclear power plants back online, and the very last major hurdle is right here with our quantum encoders. Now, that means actually creating the Fixonium fuel rods. Now, where are we in that process? we've actually already generated all the Fixonium that we need. We need 20 per minute. I'm actually making that 20 per minute of Fixonium. And then underneath that, we need the electromagnetic control rods. I don't have that. We're definitely going to need that. For the fixed site trigons, we're going to need 400 of these, 400 per minute. And we're already doing that right here. So each of these are processing the fixed site trigons. There's 14 of these machines, and we're actually making more than we need. So we're making 420 fixed site trigon per minute right next door, so that's not a problem. Then after that, we're going to need some excited photonic matter, and that's not too difficult. All we need are some converters and some electricity, and we get that. So I'm not too worried about that. So really the last major hurdle is to create the electromagnetic control rods at 20 per minute, because we're going to have 2 of these things. Or if we have the room, I think it's still going to be 2, but if we had the room, I'd probably make 4 of them just so I don't have to overclock them. Both of these are overclocked at 200%. And then we're also going to have some 200 per minute of dark matter residue coming out that we're going to need a pipe back over here. I've temporarily summer slooped these converters right here because they're, I think, creating 400 cubic meters of dark matter residue. And you can see I summer slooped them until we can loop back the other 200 cubic meters, because this thing right here, it requires 400 per minute of the dark matter residue, and the 2 converters down below only generate 200 cubic meters, except I summer sloop them for now. So as soon as we get these quantum encoders online, they're going to be able to feed their pipes back here, and we don't have to use the summer sloops at all. We can even use them for more power. So what are we doing today? We are going to create the 20 per minute electromagnetic control rods, and then the next time that we've got our video, we're going to be able to take a more complete in-depth tour of all of the things that we've built for this project and complete the process and power these up for the very first time. So that's the idea. 2 more episodes, this one and the next. So you can see we've got 4 lanes, a ton of constructors, right? So we're going to need 240 wire, we're going to need 100 copper sheets, we're going to need 400 per minute of quick wire, and 90 per minute of the steel, actually known of steel pipe. I don't know why I selected steel ingots. This should be a pipe. Well, that's a little embarrassing. Let's go ahead and fix my shame. And 90 per minute of steel pipe. With all of this, we're going to be able to combine them in some 6 assemblers or assemblers in order to create the stators and AI limiters. And then last but not least, we're going to have 5 assemblers, which are creating the 20 per minute electromagnetic control rods. So that's the plan. That's a lot of machines, but we've got a decent amount of space in the corner right here. And then we're going to be able to feed that over to a truck station that we're going to be able to send on over to the quantum encoders. With this in mind, let's go ahead and start with our baseline. We're just kind of taking it easy. So we're just going to look at the base floor, and we're going to look at the number of constructors that we have so that we have an idea of the footprint that we're going to need. 22 plus 10, 32. So we're going to need 32 constructors. Oh my God. All right. So one side's going to be 16. The other side's going to be 16. How long is that going to be actually? Well, I know that a constructor is, it seems about like 1 tile wide. So we're going to need at least, let's say if we want 1 foundational tile on either side of space, we're going to need what? 16 plus 2 in length. So let's count that out. So if we actually maybe just change the materials, the easiest way to mark this off, kind of like walking paces or something like that. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Oh my God. All right. It's going to be that wide. You know what? That's fine. That's fine. And then 5 deep. Actually, that works out nicely because that might align perfectly down there. So let's actually just verify. Well, for the most part, it lines up. Maybe I'll make it 6 just so that it lines up with the back line right here of our, I guess the water wall, if you want to call it. This is where we unpackage all the water. You can see how far that goes, how long it is. So let's just go ahead and mark out the border, and then we'll go from there, right? So we're going to need 3 different types of materials. We're going to need copper ingots, steel ingots, and deuterium ingots. We actually could be a little more efficient with the resources by utilizing things like concrete and stuff like that. We have them on the materials resources wall in the back here. You can see we've got plenty of concrete that we're just getting rid of, but I figured for simplicity's sake and actually moving these materials through these other buildings to get to our destination down there, It's going to be easier if we just kind of simplify the types of materials that we need, because we have no shortage of volume. We have shortage of real estate instead, right? So I figure let's just go ahead and kind of pick the materials off of these lanes, send them through these 3 buildings right here to the end, and that's going to be a great start. We're going to need, on the right side, you can see the checklist right here. We have 320 copper ingots, 135 steel ingots, and 80 caterium ingots. So 3 different types of resources that we got to pipe through. So let's go ahead and just kind of hop on down, and we'll walk the lane. So where are we best able to move these materials through in as straight a line as possible? If we hop under, you can see that we're probably going to have to come to the floor, go underneath, and then come back up. But for the most part, it's unfettered. Oh my gosh, I didn't put this in there. I'm breaking my own nomenclature. We need to make a few adjustments here. I've noticed that kind of over the time that I've been playing, there are certain unwritten rules for myself that I have, I guess, developed. I'm making this purple just because up top we're processing all the reanimated SAM. So there it is. And then if I want to make a walkway, I'm gonna change it over to asphalt like this, and then I switch on over, and then I just kind of mark it up like that. That way we actually get that same exact look, and you can just sort of walk all the way through without any sort of interruption. So that feels a lot better. We just need one more door right here, and there we go. Just make sure it's all marked up the same color, and we're cooking with fire. And then to get rid of the red status, I just click on it 3 times, and now it's green. All right, perfect. High five. Okay, so it actually seems pretty, like, relatively clean to come on through. Over here, I think I have a temporary setup. Yeah, it's for the fixed site Trigon. They're not going to be going this way. Earlier, I was trying to figure out where I'm going to put all these machines, and I ended up with this spot. But before that, I had the quantum encoders over here. That's why the fixed site Trigons are here. I'm actually going to have to pipe them in the opposite direction. So this is not going to be here. So with that having been said, I don't have to use that exact spot. I can actually do something like, well, maybe not like that. I think what I will do is get one of them to have 2 different materials going through that same wall right there. And then that way we can have the 3 without kind of going on top of the place where you walk, because I like to keep it clear. See what I mean? All these unwritten rules for myself, my goodness. So let me just go ahead and grab the same. We'll get the conveyor wall 1, put that right here. We'll get conveyor wall 2, put that right next door. And this allows us to then actually get a conveyor lift and just drop it right under. And then that totally works, just like that. Heck, actually, this is unobstructed. We don't even need to bring the lifts down. We could do something like this. We just kind of bring this all the way across, right? Yeah, look at that. That's super clean. I dig that. So I don't know which materials are what yet, but hey, we've got 3 materials: copper ingots, steel ingots, and caterium ingots, and we basically have 3 lanes coming on through. Let's just go in and replicate it. We just want to make sure that we're matching the same height all the way down in the distance here. So we're kind of at what level again? I think it's right here, right at the concrete level, it seems. We have our lifts moving materials across. So first things first, just gonna go ahead and establish 1 material, and then we can just match all the rest. I think it's about here. And then we'll go ahead and just make sure that we've got a smart splitter. And if we look, we're gonna be right here in line, and we're just gonna move that right underneath and bring her all the way up the top until we're at the material that we want. Now, I guess we'll just start with the copper ingots. I believe that's here. Yeah, those are copper ingots. So then we just mark up and remove those and then hook it up. So I know we can put it right onto the belt itself, but I've had mixed results, and I like the fact that this snaps to the foundations below, so it makes it a lot easier for me. So it's going to be copper first. So we're going to go copper, mark it up as copper, copper, and we're going to mark this up as copper as well. And we're going to want to bring this up. If we want to bring it up right at the level... Actually, no, that's correct. It's right above concrete. And is that straight? It's a little too tall. So we got to bring it down a click. Maybe about there. And there it is. Excellent. So we'll just go copper, copper and copper. Perfect. So this is a good start. The only thing we've got to do to make this functional is to actually adjust the smart splitter. We're going to move copper ingots over to the right, just copper ingot, and then overflow on through, and that should start to saturate the right side. There we go. Perfect. And it's a lot easier now because all we got to do is just replicate that. Look at that, same height. It looks a little bit off at first glance, but no, that's straight. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and just connect everything up, make sure that we've got buffers for Caterium ingots and copper ingots, and I think we're good to go. So here we go. So this is going to be steel ingots first, so we're just going to keep going with the colors so that we know exactly what we're working with. And then we're just going to make sure that we have Caterium marked up here. I would assume we can probably just do the coloring when we're done, but just for the... Since we're inside of this area, it's easier for me to actually operate with the colors visibly there, even though the materials are right on top. I'm going to just make a straight line for all of the materials, but then per building, every once in a while, I'm going to add a buffer for the ones that don't have one. So, as an example, the Caterium ingots. Oh, hello. That's a little too low. And this one's a Caterium buffer, so that it'll continue to accept. And then this other copper ingot lane is just gonna run all the way. Although now that I'm looking at it, this is where we need to actually drop her down to just a tadsies. And we're gonna do the same thing with the steel as well. And run them across the floor until we... Actually, I can probably just run it all the way across the floor. That's totally fine. And heck, I might as well get this copper buffer as well. So we're gonna have to do a bit of a layup, and there it is. All right, excellent. So we should see the steel ingots. Perfect. The last one should be a lot simpler because there isn't anything running across the ceiling. Oops. Across the ceiling that's going to be an issue for us. We now have all three materials, 1, 2, and 3. And then this one shouldn't be here, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete this one while I'm at it. Those are all the fixed site trigons that I'm going to have to redirect later. So let's just go and plug that up so I don't get confused. Looking pretty good. All right, perfect. So I think we got it. So essentially what we've done is just taken copper ingots, Caterium ingots, and steel ingots off of the resource wall and passed them through all three of these buildings and sent them over to our destination where we're going to be doing our electromagnetic control rod work. So very, very nice and very clean. You can see them right there. Great. So I think on the right side here on our checklist, we can actually mark those off. So I'm actually going to put an X here. Perfect. You can see them all checked off. I love the I love that feature. It's so cool. So we've already marked up our borders for our building. So let's start with some walls. All of our buildings here have a base that are too high. So we're actually going to go ahead and do that. Make sure it's steel. And then we're just going to slam that all the way across. So just like that. I realize now I probably should have put my reference constructors and buildings somewhere I'm not going to build. I currently have them in a place that is maybe a little distracting, but let's work around that. Let's I might actually delete them and just come back to it. I can delete these. It's that's distracting even to me. Okay, so that's a great start already. We're just going to go in and go 1 meter, and we're going to fill in the base floor right here. I just want to use coated concrete because it's going to be an interior of a building. And we'll just send that all the way down. Okay, perfect. So this is 6 wide. It's not 5 wide, which is an interesting one because I typically will use the odd number of foundations so that I have a center foundation. But you know what? It's all right. We'll have a little more space. We'll have 2. How about that? We'll have even more space than I've ever had before with constructors. So we're going to need 16 across, and we've got 18 in length. So it's 1, 2, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And then we'll flip that around and we'll hold control. And there we go. That's going to be the start. And we're just going to match on the opposite, right? So there is... that's a decent amount of constructors. Love that. Love that, actually. So, nice thing is, we can actually mark this. And I'm actually going to replace these all with glass so we can see the movement below. And we are just going to have the whole central area there just cleared out. And we'll go glass frames. Do I necessarily need this? Probably not. Well, I might change my mind now that I'm thinking about it, but I guess let's start this way and then we'll go from there. So if we go top to bottom, let's start with wire, right? So we've got wire. So we're just doing the basic wire recipe, copper ingot straight into wire. And we're going to need 240, and there's 30 of them, so we're going to need 8. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then 4 on the opposite. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that did take, and that's 8 times 30, that's 240. So let's just go ahead and mark that up. So we're going to go copper, 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 and copper. I wish I had a better way to delineate. Maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and put signs. I've never really done this before. I know this is a really small sign. Can we get a bigger sign? Maybe like that? Sure. I haven't done this before, so curious how this is going to work. If I were to just say this is wire as an example, this is a great idea. Why haven't I done this before? Look at how clear that is. I mean, I suppose I could do white instead of... Wow, am I only figuring this out now? Holy moly, I'm only figuring this out. Wow, that's so much easier. Well, tell you what, let's put signs on all of them. It snaps right on one specific place, so I don't really need to think. Excellent. And then I'm just going to go in and copy and paste, and we're good to go. So not only do we have the color of the machines, we actually have the freaking picture of what it's producing on there, which is just kind of insane, right? Excellent. I mean, yeah, that's not bad. And then maybe you sort of like alternate where you have this orangey sort of background and then you've got a white background, and that way there's like a very, very clear delineation from one to the next. So that's great. And then we might as well stick with copper because we're sending copper right down the middle of the constructors. So if we go to copper sheets, I think we need 10, right? So if I do a copper sheet, takes copper ingots, turns it into 10, and we're going to need 100, so that's 10 machines, so that's 5 across. So I'm going to need to mark this up as copper sheets, like so. And mind you, the color of the icon is very similar to the background, but at least you can see, we'll just alternate so that it's easier to kind of, at a glance, understand what's happening here. And 5. And then I'm just going to go in and grab the sign itself and color the machine, and we're good to go. Okay, wow. I mean, I can, now that I'm doing it, I can see why I haven't done this in the past, because it is a little bit intensive, but I don't know, there's something, if you can somehow slow down when you do this and sort of just enjoy the process, it can be really nice to have all these little details to keep track of. I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds crazy, but I actually find it quite pleasing. Now, if I'm in a rush, then no, I wouldn't. But yeah, that's great. So we've done the wire. We've done the copper sheets. Both of them require copper, and the copper is basically going to terminate right here, right? And then we're going to need to feed in the Caterium ingots, and we're going to need to feed in the steel. Now, the steel is... We need 90 steel pipes, and if we actually select steel pipes, it's at a 20, and that's not going to nicely, like, break things up. So I'm actually going to turn this into 15 on an output and underclock. And if we double check now, see, it's got 15 per minute. So if I think about it, we're going to have 2 machines creating 30, and we're going to need 3 sets of those. So it's going to be 6 machines. So this one, I'm going to go ahead and copy, and we're going to paste. And I'm actually going, I don't know why I did that. I thought I was saving myself time. I wasn't. And we're going to do steel pipes like so. So steel pipe here. There we go. It's going to alternate again, and we just need 3 and 3. So I'm going to go on the opposite. So steel pipe, and steel pipe. And then I've been using red and black for some reason for steel pipes, so I'm just going to keep that going. There we go. And then I actually need to make sure that we have the appropriate recipe underclocked and copied through. And I don't even need to look at the front because I have the color coordination going on. Perfect. So that's going to be 30 between the 2 machines, another 30 and another 30 for a total of 90 per minute. That's excellent. And then last but not least is Caterium. So we can actually just mark this up use the filter and just slam that through. It's going to be 8 machines is my assumption. And we need 240 wire. So if we look, quick wire output is 60. Interesting. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 400 quick wire underclock. That's what it is. So I go 50 per machine. That's why we've got 8. So I'm going to go in and copy through the recipe. And that means every 2 machines is going to produce 100 quick wire because of the underclock. There we go. 50 per machine. And we've got 8 of them. So that's 100, 200, 300, and 400. And then last but not least, all we've got to do is select the quick wire. And we've got all our constructors laid out. That's excellent. I actually feel like when we do the electrical work, we're going to be able to utilize the beams as a good delineator as well. And it's going to make it a little bit easier, even more so, a little bit easier to suss out what's what at a glance. So there it is. We've got our Caterium quick wire section. We've got our steel pipe section, we've got our copper sheet section, and then we've got our wire section. High five. That's really awesome. I dig that. One thing we can do is pipe in the, I'm going to say the ingredients. Let's pipe in these ingredients, just bring them across, right? So we got 2 materials here, we've got 1 material there, and I like actually having this empty space right here because if we needed to, we can actually pipe our materials over. And I'm actually thinking eventually I'd like to have a truck station bring things there. So we can actually put the truck station in here ahead of time. And that's going to work out pretty well, I think, right? So it actually... Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll have it down below and then it'll just pass through. But we'll get there when we get there. So let's just go in and bring these straight across. Make sure they're colored up. And then we'll just patch them to the right places. The way that I have these wired up, it makes me wish I had the copper right here. And instead I have the copper way down there, but it's all right. I'm too lazy to flip it all around, right? I do what I do and then I figure it out later. That's why not every... I mean, this is all live, so I didn't exactly have some grand plan before I started this whole project. So stuff's in weird places. But you know what? That's half the fun. It's like playing with spaghetti, you know? Except it's al dente and it sticks to the wall. Okay, so materials are coming in. We've got all the constructors set. This is looking grand. And let's go ahead and have the splitters. So I'm just going to create a hole for us to work with. And we'll hop on down. And let's see. Actually, I'm thinking let's put the holes in first. Because it's a lot easier to see when you're down below if you've got the floor holes to work with. So we'll kind of have these right on the edge. I find it's really, really nice to have the jetpack, but there is a little bit of a, I guess, a drift when you let go of your input. So if I click and then I move forward and I let go, there's another click I have to wait for, so it slows me down. If I'm on the ground like this, I don't get the right perspective, but as soon as I let go, I stop, right? But then I lack the perspective and then I end up placing these holes in weird places. So it's a bit give and take. I kind of wish... I suppose I could build some kind of scaffolding just so that I could put this in more quickly, but by the time I'm done with the scaffolding, I've taken longer. Give and take for everything, right? Give and take for everything. So you end up working with what you got. All right, there we go. Perfect. So all the floor holes are put in. Now we just need to make sure that we've got the lift tops. So this is looking grand. I love this. We can color this up later, right? So now, if we go down below, then we can actually get our smart splitters. And I suppose I could have some working off of the ceiling and then some working off of the floor. And that will help us to move different materials into tighter spaces. So let's... Okay, we'll keep that in mind. So I know that the copper's on the opposite side. So I'm actually just going to say it's going to come in from where I'm standing. And I'm going to go hold. And I'm going to walk it back so I can actually line this up. And I'm going to go copper is right there. Looking pretty good. And it's right in the middle. And we'll just bring it up until it's right on the ceiling like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and get the first one set. Oh, is this just a regular old splitter? Yeah, it is. I'm going to replace it with a smart splitter. And we're going to go with copper ingot on both sides. There we go. And then we'll say overflow, right? So now I don't have to think what the top is. I just attach the bottom and pass her through just like that. Perfect. And there she is. Excellent. So now we just got to repeat that, right? I think I'm going to need 10. So if we look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, never mind. I need 9. All right, perfect. Well, I need 9 across. That's 4 and 5. Perfect. So it's 9 deep. So we're going to need 8 more smart splitters because I've already placed down 1. So let's make that happen. So I'm just going to hold control so that we're in line. And let's just do it along the baseline first. And I'm going to get on the ground so that I don't have that drift thing. 8, 9, and then we just pile them up. Perfect. And then I'm just going to mark filter and get rid of the bottoms. There we go. And then before I put in the conveyor belts, I'm going to copy and then paste because it's usually easier to paste when there isn't a bunch of stuff around it. The game seems to recognize the splitter a lot more easily. And then finally, I'm going to say we're not going to have pass-through on the last one because it's the last one. So that works out nicely. And you can see the color differentiation as well. There's copper, there's not copper. That one's steel. So already looking great. So now it's just about repetition, right? So we go with the bottoms. Oops, hello. And we're going to do it from this side so that we don't get hung up. 7 and 8 because we already placed down 1. Perfect. I'm going to go in and get copper finish, mark the filter, and just run that all the way down. Perfect. And we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. Excellent. And then it's just a matter of getting them all connected. So we'll go. I suppose I could just do it from the bottom. That's probably easier. Afterwards, we can actually get the center connected as well. And then with the filters, all we have to do is mark a filter using the G key for the conveyor belts themselves, and we'll be able to color those up no problem as well. Nice thing is, even though it's clear through the gloss foundation, no problems or worries about hitting other things above it because, well, it's solid. So we just kind of do this and bring that back. Very handy. And then right down the middle. And I don't remember if I actually did the splitters themselves, so I'm gonna go with a markup smart splitter and we'll just, yeah, it looks like I didn't. And there we go. High five. All right, so that's all done. Now we just need to bring the copper on over, right? So what I'm gonna do is move this along the wall. Unfortunately, it's gonna be very long. It's going to be very, very long because I totally didn't have the materials in the right order to make this more efficient. So this coming around the edge, all the way around the edge. And fortunately, we've got this nice middle line between the two steel walls that makes it a lot easier to place the wall mounts. And there it is. Perfect. So that's going to start flowing right on in. Excellent. So that's happening. So I'm just going to go in and mark the filter, and let's go in and just get these colored even from a distance. Perfect. Excellent. We Bette Midlered the heck out of that from a distance. Perfect. So there she goes. So now, mind you, we need some power in order to get those pre-saturated. So should we do that now? I guess it's not that important. We'll come back to it. We're not doing power right now. And let's go and close that up. And there we go. So that part's all done. So now we're moving over to steel. And then lastly, we've got the Caterium ingots. I almost feel like the Caterium, since it's in the middle, it's perfect to kind of come out to the side and then flow in from this side. So let's go ahead and open this up. And we're going to do a little bit of the same. The steel can be on the floor. I think that would be fine. I don't see any issue with that. I mean, whichever's the easiest. If we even need to do that. If it's all up on the ceiling, that'd be great, but if we need to, we still have the floor to work with, so that's great. So I'm actually going to accept materials from the left this time. Awesome. Great. And then it's just a matter of bringing these in from the right side. So how are we going to do that? I mean, I suppose we could just kind of Bring it on. Oh, wow, that's quite a wave. I'm not going to worry about that. What I could have done... Actually, no, I will worry about that. The reason why it's doing that is because I made the wall mount a little too far back. I need it to be somewhat here. Now that's actually straight in straight mode, and then we'll connect it. There it is. Perfect. So we'll fix that so it's a little cleaner. And that makes it a little bit nicer to work with when we're doing the Caterium, because we can kind of come up like that. I think, yeah, 2 clicks. And then we'll bring it along close but not clipping. And then right on in. Perfect. Excellent. There it is. God, that's satisfying. That looks very, very nice indeed. Now, if I wanted to, I can get rid of these mounts right here. And then I can actually just grab the ceiling mounts, conveyor ceiling mount. And then at any bend, I just kind of place them in, even though it's not necessary. But this is why I like the nudging. Nudging's so good. Now we can just kind of flip it 90 degrees and bring that in and just bump it over like that. And then we'll do another one right... Well, we don't even have a ceiling here yet. Cut that out and fall through the floor. And we're going to get another ceiling mount. And we'll have one more right there. And just keeps the floor clean, which I dig, because then I don't have to think when I'm running through these buildings. And there it is. That's fantastic. So now all of the Caterium quick wire machines, all 8 of them, are now being fed. So the last thing, we've got our last resource, and we only have 6 steel pipe constructors, so that's no problem. We'll get those all fed, and then we can power them up temporarily, and we're all good to go. So I guess the question is, how are we going to feed them, right? I suppose we could come from the right side and then go left. That's probably the easiest, most straightforward thing to do. So let's try that, and then we'll I think we should have enough room right here, but we'll see. We'll see. So I'm just going to go in and place this on the bottom in line with the other ones. Or better yet, I guess we could try it on the floor. That might be kind of cool. We haven't done that yet. So let's try them on the floor. There's only 3. It's not a big deal. And since it's steel that we're feeding, we're going with the carbon steel finish. And we're going to feed them on the floor like that. So they're moving on a completely different level. Another layer of distinction at a glance, so we know what it is that we are working with, and all we have to do is see that it's different. It doesn't matter how it's different, it's just a little different, and that makes all the world of difference when trying to just kind of take a glance and suss out what's going on, if there's any issues that we need to take care of. So we'll receive. This one we're really easy to work with because we're working from above. I usually find it's easier to work from above than it is below, but either way, it's just a different challenge. So we want to be right here. So let's come up with the mount and go back to click. And then I'm going to have a lift and we'll pass it down that way. There it is. And then this can head right on in like that. Excellent. Look at that. My goodness, that is so nice. That is so, so nice. Holy moly. Wow, that is masterclass. I don't think that was necessary. Like, you can see we have enough room. I could have had this on the ceiling, and honestly, I probably should, just because then we don't have any walking issues or anything like that. But you know what? It's fine. It's different. It's easier to see. So there she is. Look at that. They're all fed. They were hungry. They're no longer hungry. That's excellent. And we'll just patch up that hole, and we're looking good. There she is. I guess the last bit we can do is do the coloring. So these are the tops of these lifts, but with the filter, it's very, very easy, and we'll just switch on to a carbon steel finish. There it is. High five. Perfect. So now this is all set. All set. The only thing we got to do is apply power and do the output, and then we can move to the next floor, and we're already assembling. That's kind of crazy. That was super fast. So let's actually, I'm going to use Alt, go to an alternate halt bar. Hot bar. Yeah, halt bar. I like the halt bars the best. And then we're going to actually just bring these up to our standard 8 meters, like that. And we're just going to make our big rectangle of beams. And the cool thing is, as soon as we're done with our first rectangle, we can actually bring another beam down and break up the sections even more. And I'll show you what I'm talking about as soon as we finish up this rectangle. So, and then we can just cap off the corners with the beam connectors so they don't look weird. Looking weird is, I mean, this game is highly aesthetic, right? Many bunnies tell me Factorio is awesome. Factorio is like way better than Satisfactory, but I haven't tried Factorio A, and B, I do like the aesthetic qualities of the immersion of being able to be at ground level with these things and see them. So let's see. So I want to put a beam right in line, so right here in the corner, and bring that up. Okay, so I gotta go just one click up from the corner. That's what I gotta do. There it is. That's 8 up. So right here, and that's 8 up. Perfect. And then I'm gonna get another connector and just do this. So that's what I mean when I say I can delineate between the sections, because I know this is a wire section because of these beams. And then I can do the same thing for the copper sheet. So that's right here. And then that's it. You see? So it's not a huge giveaway. If I wanted to, I can color these differently. Like I could do, let's say, a white pillar, I suppose, to really stand out so that I can see it from very far away. So maybe I'll do that. I've never done that before. And there she is. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. That's looking very, very nice. I dig that. So we're just going to go in and wire up. The thing I like about constructors is that you can actually place these plugs, the wall outlets, dead center with the machine itself, which makes it very easy to just be uniform in how I do it, right? And I'm going to mark up and connect all 32. I'm going to go ahead and have the double wall outlets up here, connect those on the top, connect them on the bottom. There we go. And then the very last one, and now we've got a full rectangle. That is freaking awesome. There it is. High five. Obviously, we're going to need a loop in power somewhere, but that's not too hard because all we got to do is just, at least for now, just do that, and voila, there it is. Isn't that awesome? Holy moly, look at that. And you can actually see the feed and where it's at, which is great. Now, mind you, they're sort of partially fed, and then they're going to start to, you'll see a lot of yellow lights because they won't have what they need in order to keep pumping out stuff. And on top of that, we don't have any outputs set, but that's a pretty nice setup so far. I think probably the easiest thing that we can do, since we don't have a bunch of stuff in the way right now, we can actually mark up, let's say, like a half factory zone like this. It's because there isn't anything in the way to mark it up. And then I'm going to go switch over to a full factory zone, and we'll just run this all the way across. Looking a lot better now. And you can even see some of the yellow now, which is great news, because it means that, you know, we're slowly saturating in the manifold, right? Look at that. Okay, with that in mind, let's go ahead and take care of the next floor plus the outputs, and then it's just secondary assemblers, then the final assembler, and then we can pipe that material to the truck station, and we're done, which is amazing. So let's go ahead and just see. I think it's about 3 walls high that we're going to need. Yep, that's about right. 3 walls high for the next floor. And then we're going to create our logistics floor right here. So we want to do that in concrete. Now this is going to be 6 across. And then 18 long. So we're going to do the border again. Now I guess we have different ways that we can do it. We can pass the resultant materials from the constructors down below, sort of group them together, and then pass 3 sets of lifts up to the logistics floor that we're creating right now. Or we can have every single one of the constructors send that material straight up. I feel like it's going to be less work if we actually do that sort of grouping and merging in the basement logistics floor as opposed to this new one, because I want to keep this new one rather, I guess, thin. So it's only going to be 1 wall. Well, actually, no, I'm going to make it 2 walls high because it's an assembler and it's usually easier if we have 2 different vertical levels to work with in the logistics floor, so we can pass materials up and over or under, etc. So even though we've got the room for it, we're going to have more room to work with if we actually do that grouping below. So let's actually, I've talked myself into it. I've talked myself into it, and we're going to go ahead and just make sure that we've got our floor holes. Just double check what it looks like underneath. So I'm moving material right along the wall. I forgot about this. So I am going to need to make sure that the floor holes are a little bit tighter right here. So let's go ahead and do that. And there we go. So how are we doing below? Because, yeah, look at that. Is that going to be an issue? I don't know. It might just fit. Wow, it just fits. Wow, that's epic. Okay, that's great. That's great news. Well, love that. I guess we'll just go ahead and mark up the half zone again. And here we go. So we're just going to do the tops. And there it is. Okay, so we've done 32 tops. We can color them up later. And then we just need to merge the bottoms. Now the question is, where are we going to bring the materials up? It might make sense to kind of spitball where the assemblers are first, because then we can determine where the materials should enter the logistics floor. Obviously, I didn't do that when I was moving materials from the resource wall to this building, and it would have been nicer if they were in a different order. So let's try to get ahead of that, and we'll deal with that now. So I said I wanted to make sure that this logistics floor is too tall, two basic walls tall. Not too tall. Well, I guess it can be a little too tall if I'm not careful, but it's going to be fine. And then we'll clear that. And we're just going to go ahead and bring this out another 5. I guess we don't need it to be 18. Heck, I might be able to get all the assemblers on this floor now that I think about it. I can almost guarantee that I will. So it's still only going to be 2 stories tall. So let's see. What do we have? The stators. They're taking in copper sheets and quick wire. Now the copper sheets and the quick wire are actually next to each other. We've got the, well, actually no, quick wire's on this side and the copper sheets are over here. So I probably want those assemblers maybe to the left there. We only need 4. And we might as well do something similar where we're going to have separated rows, except we've got enough space. I think we can actually physically separate them, no problem. So what I'm going to do is just give ourselves 1 block of space in the middle. So we'll hold control and do this. Is that right? No, that's 1 click off. You can see it with this line right here. So I need to redo the left side, and then everything's going to snap to it. So I'm actually going to say hold. And that's actually looking pretty good. We'll go with that. So we need 4 of these assemblers for the quick wire and the copper sheets. Let me just copy and paste and delete down here. And paste and paste. Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. AI limiters. Perfect. Not stators. My bad. AI limiters. Okay, so we've got 4 AI limiter machines, and that's going to come out to 20. And I know I used the green color all the way on the opposite side of this, I guess, facility. So I'm going to go ahead and try to replicate that as well. So I've got, actually it wasn't pure green, it was this green, now that I think about it. So we'll kind of go with this yellowish, greenish combo right here. So those are going to be AI limiters. And I'm curious about the signs. Can I do the same thing? Like, do they have a snapping point for signs? So if I go to organization, I go to 1 meter signs. Do they have a snapping point? Looks like not really. So the constructors are different. So this one doesn't have them. I have to put them on the ground or something like that. But we'll keep separate. I guess we'll have separate areas. We don't have to put all the assemblers right next to each other, so that's fine. When it comes to the stators themselves, I think that's here. Yeah, we got stators. It's steel pipe and wire. We have steel pipe section here, and the wires on this side, so we're just going to have them like juxtaposed. I'm going to bring this over to the far right, and we're going to have 3 and 3, and 2 and 3. And I suppose I don't really need to copy and paste, because it's just the standard setup. And in this case, I can even look up stator like that. And we're just going to copy and paste that through. I was going to say we could use the red and the black, but that's kind of the steel pipe thing. So I think I'm just going to go with the carbon steel finish like that. So these are going to be our stators in carbon steel. Excellent. And then last but not least, we got to combine the 2, and those are the assemblers in the middle. We need 5. Well, actually, how many tiles do we have in the middle? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. That kind of works out. We actually have 11, but I want to leave some space. So I'm going to just go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, since it's odd. And this is 6 across. And I want to send these towards the truck station, so the output's going to head that way. So I'm going to put the assembler right there, and then we'll just kind of snap from the sides, from the center, so that it's equidistant and we've got equal spacing on both sides. There it is. Now, what color should we have for the electromagnetic control rods? Now that I'm thinking about it, the picture of the electromagnetic control rods, electromagnetic, has this like yellow-ish, greenish sort of color. So if I actually copy that all the way through and then use that, I can actually change the color for the AI limiter, because I think this one actually fits pretty nicely for the electromagnetic control rods. So this one's got to change, and I'm just going to use this sort of olive green. All right, perfect. So there's the grouping, and the final product comes out of here. Look at that. So they're all set up. All we got to do is just clear this so there's no confusion. Excellent. And now we're cooking with fire. Fantastic. So I guess now we have an idea of what materials we need and where, right? What we can do is stagger the inputs. So I'm going to go ahead and say on this side, there. You know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to have them right next door. I know I've done that in the past, and I know it works just because I've done it before. And it's a little less confusing to me, because you can go have differences vertically, right? As opposed to laterally. So they all look all stacked next to each other, and we can just have differences of height, hence the two basic wall difference, right? So that works out a lot better, and you can have a feed from the middle. Okay, that's fine. So then with that in mind, we're going to have the copper sheets and the quick wire on this side. That's fair. And if we look down below, we have all this quick wire. We could have the output group right here come up right there. That would work just very, very, very nicely. I'm going to have, maybe we'll have the grouping and coming up on the back side here. So they're going to be on this side, right in line with the pillar. Perfect. And then we'll just have that right there. Excellent. So we'll have the output of the quick wire right here. Let's just get the feed. I'm going to open this up. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of patching to do of the floor. Oh, look at that. I totally forgot about the copper. I guess we can approach this in different ways. I could put this here and work around it. That's one way I could do it. Or I could move where we're passing it up. I like passing it up along the wall. And since this is going all the way around the wall, I think I'm going to make the copper move instead. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this section out. And we're just going to go ahead and have this descend and run along the floor for a moment. Maybe a little bit closer just to keep that floor as clean as possible. Receive from the right. We'll have that. Heck, we can even just do that. That's epic. Wow, that's super epic. That's some next level. That's when you're like, copper, get out the way, right? Look at that. Man, it's like it's got ears on it. That's so crazy. Wow, I'm very impressed with that. I have never done that before. That is super cool. See, the thing is, no one's even going to see that, right? No one's going to see that. That's just me. I just know it's there. And next time I see it, I'm going to be so impressed. Wow, that's incredible. Well, I love that. We'll come back to that one. So we know right now that because of these colors, these are the quick wire. So let's get quick wire. Can we exit to the right? Probably not. So we're going to face in the interior. 3 and 4. That's all quick wire. And then this one is, ooh boy, we'll bring that down maybe to the floor. Like so. Yeah, that's not clipping. And I guess the way we're going to route it's going to be a little bit different then. So I'm actually going to... I don't have to do this. I could keep these on the ceiling, and maybe it makes sense, but I like the symmetry. If I can maintain the symmetry as much as humanly possible, that's just a personal preference, but not a necessity. And there it is. So these are all the Caterium quick wire outputs. Caterium quick wire. All the quick wire outputs. And then we'll just go ahead and merge. to the left. And I'm curious if that's... Oh my god, does that... That is epic. Look at that. No belts at all. That's straight... What is this, a Rubik's Cube? Or oh my god, that's like lift-on-lift action right there. It's almost obscene. It's kind of amazing. I'm okay with this. And then we just need to connect them, right? So all the outputs are going to flow together, merge in, merge out, just like that. And this is 400 per minute a quick wire. Incredible. Okay, that's pretty awesome. Wow, that worked out really nicely. My goodness, I couldn't have planned that one better myself. Wow, that's great. So I mean, when you close this up, it's not going to look like much, but man, when you go down below, it's going to be a party. That's beautiful. Okay, so we got quick wire over here, and we've also got to get it's quick wire and copper sheets. All right, perfect. Well, I'd like stuff to run along the backside, so let's go in and get, even without looking below, I'm going to put a conveyor lift floor hole right here, which tells me I'm probably going to have to do the same thing. Yep, we're going to have to reroute and move the copper ingots a little bit. Bring that on the opposite side. Wow. So close to the last Satisfactory video, and I discovered this genius technique. Who would have thought? My goodness, that's so cool. Why have I never... It's fine. It's fine. You know, we're always learning, bunnies. We're always learning. So those are the copper sheets. Excellent. And we just need to bring them together and boom. Right over to the left, no problem. That's great. Love that. So all we got to do is actually merge the outputs together now, right? Yeah, I totally forgot about that. And so if we look, I think it's to the right of this position. So we've got 10 of these machines. So 5 to the right of this. So I'm doing both sides coming together, and then does this go out this side, or does this go a little bit out this way and then crank on over? And unfortunately, if I came out straight, then I'm going to hit this because it's perfectly in line. So that means, in fact, I do have to come out this side with the output and come down that way. Look at that. Actually, if I do this and just run that along like that, it's going to pipe directly into the lift, but obviously we need to merge some more in. Nice thing is we can just snap mergers right onto existing belts, right? So I'm curious if I do this and then snap another one. Look at that. I don't... Wow, that's something. Wow, that's excellent. I thought for sure I was going to have to do some sort of like pixel by pixel counting and stuff like that, but I forgot that we can just snap the mergers and splitters directly on a belt, and that took care of it for me. That's super close, and we can still color it. That's great. Now, I guess the question is this connected? Let's find out. If we go above, we should see copper sheets coming out, right? Nice. High five. Wow. Okay, that was great. Excellent. So we've got everything that we need. Copper sheets, quick wire, and we can already create the AI limiters. That's phenomenal. So as far as the stators go, we need steel pipes and the wire. Nice thing is we've got the wire right here that's 8. So we're just going to do something very similar, right? I suppose we can lean way off to this side with the wire because the stators are the only ones using the wire. I'm going to have it right on this corner right here. So let's actually get the holes already. So there's no issue. And I'm even preemptively going to mark the direction and link them. And then we move for the merge. So we'll just take this, crank it all the way down into the input. However, it looks like it's a little bit occluded. You know what? We can totally fix that with my favorite new technique. What an incredible technique. My goodness. And then we'll just bump that. Okay, great. Look at that. Doesn't even clip. Golly. Man, that is something. That is something. Wow. Wowzers. And then there's the output. Oh, what is... Oh, God. What is that? Oh, that's a weird sort of look. I don't like that at all. My goodness, that doesn't feel right. Well, it looks like we need to line that up a little bit better. My fault. My fault. Nobody needs to see that kind of waviness. Holy moly. Now through. That's in line. I can already see the dots. Perfect. Excellent. Oh my gosh, that took so many attempts, but we did it in the end. Never give up, bunnies. Right? Never give up. Perfect. Excellent. Look at how tight and clean that is. Excellent. We've got all the wire almost done. All we got to do now is get a merger, place it right in line, control click, perfect, and there it is. Fantastic. So that's now merging in 2 sources and sending that up above. Now the steel pipe is this small 6 constructor section right here. So I guess I could just send it up in the middle of these 2 lanes. So we'll get all the way to the floor. See, it's always the last few products that you're working with. I'm really glad that I did 2 basic walls high, but it's always like the last few products that you're working with where you've got to do some weird shenanigans because you've taken up space in ways you didn't expect to. And now you got to work around your own shenanigans. It's a very human problem. So now all we have to do is take the final product and get it up above. So I'm going to bring that over to the side. Look at these shenanigans. And then do that. Wow. Wow. That's some next level stuff right there. Amazing. Good job. Good pat on the back. That's perfect. Wow. That's something else. That is, and this is going to be a joy to see when it's moving around. That's going to be so cool. It makes me want to make an entirely clear building so I can just watch it all. I guess that's kind of one great argument for not using logistic floors, right? Is that if you want to see it all, then you leave it all exposed. It's a whole different style, right? I mean, you got to start with one style, have another playthrough, and then do a different style, right? So there they are. All 4 of the products are heading on up. They are prepped and ready to go. Now we just need to feed these beasts, and we're good. Although I guess we need we do need electricity as well. And that. Awesome. High five. So all of them potentially can receive power. We just need to hook this up to something. And I suppose the best thing to do, we'll just kind of toss some very, very lazy power line out so that we can definitely tell it doesn't belong, and do maybe like this, then bring it over. Perfect. Okay, great. So these now all have power. It's just a matter of feeding them and then getting them all wired up appropriately. Fantastic. So looking good so far. Let's just make sure that all the holes are patched up so we don't forget. And then we've got the final feeds here, which I almost feel like I'd like to stagger this one just because it's going to look cool. And you can, when you stagger them, you can kind of see the materials feeding as opposed to a direct lift straight to the machine where you just, it's all hidden passing the materials in, right? That one's a little, oop, those are too high. But that's what's cool about doing this all in waves. If you do it in sections, then you'll notice the differences, right? I mean, obviously it's a pretty egregious issue, but... And then we're also going to have, these are the olive green. So we'll go 3 clicks. So we'll go 1, 2, and 3 right on the half line. And then we'll just get them colored up. And the belts. And there it is. High five. So we have all of the tops for the inputs, and we have no outputs, but that's all right. We'll get there. So now the question is, how do we feed these things? Fortunately, we've got them all in line. So quick wire and the, what was this again? Quick wire and steel pipes. That's going to make our AI limiters. Is that right? No. Quick wire and copper sheets, so it's a little bit crossed. Okay, so quick wire and copper sheets. That's how we got to do it. All right, perfect. So I'm just going to do a center feed for this. So we're going to go ahead and have, I guess they'll come from the, let's loop them all the way around and then enter from the outside so that we've got more room on the inside for the final assembler work. So we'll just kind of do smart splitter. We'll hold, make sure it's in alignment. So I'm just going to go ahead and bump. There it is. And the first one's going to be from the ceiling. And then we'll just cut out the bottom ones. And once again, this is why I like having the 2 basic walls high worth. And then we'll have the other one in line, but on the floor. There it is. And we'll pass that and pass that. Perfect. So I guess the question is, which one's which? If this is the quick wire, let's just arbitrarily call it. It's going to be the quick wire right here. Quickie wire. I kind of like that better. Quickie wire. We're going to get a lot of quickie wire in here. It's going to quickly move the quickie wire to the right place. We'll just go ahead and copy, and then we'll paste it. It's terminating right here, so we'll say none, and that's looking great, which means the other one is just naturally, by process of elimination, copper sheets. So we're going to go ahead and copper sheet on the floor. Copper sheets are flat. It's kind of like the floor. It makes sense. So we'll double copper sheet, overflow. We'll grab it, and then we'll copy that on over and terminate it. So none. Perfect. And then we'll just color them up before they get really convoluted. And the quick wires, Caterium, pop, pop, and pop. That's excellent. And then we'll just make sure that all the bottoms are hooked up before we feed anything. And that is super clean and super compact. And again, I love the fact that it snaps straight to the smart splitter, so I don't have to worry about whether or not it's connected appropriately or anything like that. And then we'll just make sure that these are colored. Excellent. So we just got 2 feed points, and that's it. Perfect. I mean, we might as well take this top for the quick wire, and we're just going to raise it and face it in the direction of our assemblers. And then we're going to have this move along the ceiling like so. And then enter at the angle. Perfect. So we got Caterium. That's going on in. Excellent. And she's already loading because they've got power, right? So take a look at that. So quick wires just zooming on in like crazy. Love that. And then we're going to do the same thing with the copper sheets, but it's already on the ground. We can actually probably end up lifting the steel pipes, but we can do that later. I guess we'll give it a little bit of space. We'll come down on this lane. And then we'll just come it around right in line with the quick wire. So that's going to be... We'll just pull it here. And in. There it is. So it's right in line. And now they should actually be creating the AI limiters. High five. There it is. That's great. So I'm just going to go in and just toss these in because I don't want them in my pocket. They're going to better serve us here. So let those build. They don't have any output, so they'll saturate and that'll be good. So that's very, very simple and very clean. I love it. I love it. Obviously, we're going to have to raise the steel pipes a bit. We're going to send it down the lane. So let's just go ahead and do that. And we're going to raise that to the ceiling and send it straight in that direction. That tells us something, right? We're going to do the same sort of setup when we're feeding these assemblers. And that means the one on the top is probably going to be the steel pipes because it's already running along the ceiling. There it is. So functionally speaking, that should be going non-stop. So the AI limiters are being built and are all stacked up. That's awesome. I feel very blessed that that worked out so smoothly. And then we've got the stators, which are saturating right now, and they're being made. That's excellent. Now we just need to get the outputs and put them in here. This is great news. So, I mean, I suppose we'll just keep it as tightly to the assemblers as possible. I don't remember what's running along the outside of the machines, and rather than try to, you know, find out and then need to reroute them, I'm just going to keep them nice and tight to the machines themselves. Now we're going to come down below, and the feed point is right here. So let's actually face to the outside like this. There's 5 different machines, and there's 5 floor holes out this way. I'm going to pre-mark them as carbon steel. And then we're actually just going to go ahead and send a splitter all the way down in line. One thing I am noticing as I'm doing this is that I think I forgot to color one of the belts. I'm pretty sure I did. So let me go ahead and change it for the steel pipes. There it is. Okay, great. So that's actually colored up. That's looking a lot better. That had me weirded out. Had me a little weirded out. Okay, so the outputs themselves, we've got them facing this way. And we'll have this side facing inwards to the inside of the building. And we're just going to merge them all together. We're going to do the same merge forward. And connect. Oh, whoops. Where did the other merger go? Did I throw it somewhere? We're going to find some random merger out there, and it's going to take me a while to find. I know it. I know it. Where did that merger go? Is it in the ocean? I swear I clicked and it accepted, so that makes me think there's some random merger in a really weird place. Well, let's not worry about it for too long. I've already forgotten that it's out there in the yonder. Who knows where it is now? And let's just go ahead and get the merging on this side. So now we've got merges from both sides with the stators, and we just got to bring them together and pass them on in. That's the entry point, right? We're going to be right in line. Bring that higher. And we'll just pass it through. And then pass that through. Perfect. So that's all merging together with the stators. And then we just send that. Oh my gosh, what have I done? What is that? Oh, that's a whole new look. Tell you what, I'm just going to rotate that 90 degrees and call it even. We'll do this. How about that? Does that actually work? No, it doesn't. Oh my goodness. What is this? Oh, it's coming at a weird... Oh, that's so bad. Okay, we've got to change that. I can't stand for something like that. That's a little too much, even for me. My goodness. You know what? I'm going to accept this wave. I think that's perfectly fine. It's a one-time coupon. I never have to look at it again. Excellent. There go the stators, and the stators are now feeding. So we should see stators start to appear. Excellent. We'll just bump that in there, and that will mean that this is going to start getting them. Excellent. Perfect. So now these are starting to feed in the stators, and they're starting to stack up. Look at that. That's so cool. And then the last one. We've got one more, and then we've got our output, and that's it. That is a wrap. So very, very excited about that. We're going to have our electromagnetic rods. And the very last thing we got to do is feed it into the truck station for pickup. And then the next time that we play, we're going to be able to put it all together and finish up nuclear power plants for Fixonium fuel rods. That's awesome. All right, now we're cooking. And we're just going to line up a merger here. We learned our lesson. I learned my lesson. Color that up. Linker. Color the link. And then pass it through. There. And there. That's it. Look at that. Excellent. So those are sending on in all of the AI limiters. And they're going to saturate like nuts. Look at that. She's flying. She is flying. They're coming from opposite directions. So you already see the AI limiters are stacked on this side and the stators are stacked on that side, and eventually they'll meet in the middle. It's like some kind of rom-com. It's like the best kind of rom-com. The factory rom-com. All right, fantastic. So we've just got to gather our electromagnetic control rods and pass it on down with the idea that they're going to appear in that station for pickup. And then we can wrap this up as a building and call it. That is awesome. So let's just go ahead and take a quick gander down below. I suppose having a long runway out this way isn't too bad. We'll just bump it right on this line right here, and then we'll just accept at those points. There it is. So those are the outputs, and you can already see some electromagnetic control rods appear. Look at that. And we just gotta merge it and send it on down. I suppose if I look below, we'll be able to tell if we need to pull any shenanigans. Yep, we got a path. I can see a path already. Check this out. You're going to love this. So let's go ahead and put in the conveyor wall hole. And then we're just going to take it and we're going to pass it on in right here to the truck station, where we're going to have all of our little cars doing their thing. Now, the color for The final output was colorway swatch 11. So we'll get that marked up and marked up on the truck station. That's great. So now we just need to pass them down exactly where we're passing them. So that's something like this. We'll have the output 1 and 2 switch direction. Perfect. And now if we look at it, we should be able to run it right across. Perfect. Come on down this way. Perfect. One click. And then bring her down. That's a little weird. We're actually just gonna do it ye old-fashioned way. And come up like that. There it is. So it's a little fancy, but it'll do. It'll do. There it is. So we've been able to avoid hurting the feelings of the clipping gods out there. That's great. It's a little wonky, but it works. Perfect. And then we just pipe that right on up. Excellent. I'm going to need another floor hole. And this building, at least functionally speaking, is almost complete. Just connect that. Excellent. And we're going to come up all the way to the ceiling. Like that. We'll just go ahead and mark it up as swatch 11. We're going to slap a merger right on it. And it's going to make it easy to feed into, right? And then we'll just go ahead and have all of our outputs that we can merge together. Oops, that's not the right way. And I suppose I don't mind feeding from this direction, meaning I don't even need the merger here. I can just come to the ceiling, turn it this way, color her up, and just merge in line down the lane. 2, 3, 4, and 5, so we're not missing anything. Change direction, and then enter like that. That seems fair. And now we are feeding electromagnetic control rods into the truck station just like that. So I'm pretty sure it should be working now. Let's just make sure this is colored up. Although I am noticing that it's not accepting stuff. My guess is, oops, that's not at a right angle. My guess is because we haven't powered up the truck station yet. But that's not a difficult one to handle. So there we go. So that's all sending them on through. And you can see that they are arriving at the truck station. It just needs some temporary power. Let's just slam this anywhere. Doesn't really matter. We'll even throw that out maybe this way and come around the building so it's easier to work with. And connect it to some random pole. And now those should start to flow. Excellent. Look at that. Wow. That's pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. I dig that. So there they are. Electromagnetic control rods all entering the truck station, and they're coming in a little at a time. That's awesome. And there she is. Look at that. So this is just the functional setup right here. I just want to double check that we're still saturating here, right? We're currently low on stators, which means this is still at, yeah, it's not maxed out yet. And that means that we are low on stators there as well. That makes sense. Okay, perfect. So everything seems to be working as it should. So I guess let's just go ahead and button this up, right? So let's just make sure everything's all patched up. There's no reason to look down below anymore. We probably want to do the wiring up above. Now the question is, where do we pass the electricity up? One of my favorite little doohickey tricks. This is seriously one of my favorite tricks. I go ahead and I grab a power pole and I place it down like this, and then I put it on hold, and I just bump it until it's like inside, at least vertically speaking, inside one of these lifts here. That looks pretty good. And then I'll go ahead and I'll cut out, I'll go down below, and I'll take the power by selecting the power pole. I can go up to the top and I select the ceiling. So now I say hold, and then I just align it so that the wire disappears inside of the lift. And now you can't see it. It's hidden. My goodness, it's such a shady technique. Who would have thought that HB would think of such shady things? I mean, that's Honestly, a lot of the bunnies think that I don't deal in shadiness, but everybody who knows me knows that I'm the shadiest bunny around. My goodness, look at that. That's some shenanigans. So the nice thing about it, though, is that I can actually connect stuff on the bottom. So before, we kind of had double wall outlets on the top, and you could see them. They were all exposed. But we don't have to worry about that here, right? We can actually just take a regular plug. I'm going to go ahead and have that there. And I'm going to bring that plug down, and it's just going to sit right there. And the reason why I like the single wall outlet plugs is it allows you to cap off the bottom like that, and it just sticks out. It looks like it's part of it, you know? That's already connected up above, and I just connect this right here, and now we have a point where we can feed power from the bottom floor, and you can't see it transition between the actual production floors, right? So that's actually really cool. Now the question is, where are we going to get the power? I know that we've been feeding the power from the outside. I think, yep, there's some random pole right here. So I've just been taking our 2-meter floor below and feeding it in the giant chonky piece of concrete, and this is what I'm talking about. So let's see, I'm looking for a vertical lane. There's a vertical lane, which means I have a plug down here. There it is, and I'm hiding it down there. So I'm just going to bring it to the closest corner, and we'll put a plug right smack dab in the middle, and then we'll hook that up, and that's all being sent. There's this, if anyone ever digs up the foundation of this nuclear power facility, oh my god, it's going to be a rat nest. It's going to be a rat nest alliance. But hey, you don't see it. You don't see it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. We'll just open this up, go next door, and we'll just run that in. And this is now our point of entry for power, right? So just voila, just like that. Just patch up that hole so nobody has to know. No evidence remaining, boss. No evidence remaining. Did I close that hole up? I don't remember. I did. Wow. Good thing. See, this is what happens when you're a shady bunny. Sometimes you forget if you were shady enough and if you covered up the, you know, evidence of wrongdoing, right? So this thing has power. We'll just run that right on up and get that straight to the ceiling, slightly exposed so that we know where there's hidden wiring down below. And then we just get this hooked up to something. It doesn't really matter, right? Actually, I'll open that up again and just take a look up above. I'd like it in a point of entry like this, right? Where we've got these vertical wall outlets. So I can actually extend this down 2 clicks. And we're going to have a regular plug there. I'm going to connect that down below. And then we'll close her up. And then it's just a matter of hooking this point all the way out that way. So nice thing is we can take this, just run it along the wall. Let's see, where is that dangly bit? It is here. Perfect. Excellent. And that is in line in the ceiling. Just one click over from this center line. So we're going to try to do the same thing here, just to keep the lane straight. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I popped right through the hole. That was unexpected. There we go. Fix that. Oh, wow. I'm like a pinball. I'm like a pinball in a pinball machine. All right, perfect. So we kind of get on over and we bring it 1 click. There it is. So power's there. Bring that through. We get on the opposite side, connect the 2 ends together, and now we got power up above. Take a look at that. And then we just beam connect it. Excellent. All done. So we just head on outside, just double check. Nice thing is we can now just disconnect one of those poles that's powering all the madness like this, and we should still be fine. So disconnect this. It should still be green. Look at that. High five. Isn't that cool? My goodness. All right, so we're back and it's all wired up. So everything is wired and the wires are hidden for the most part. So it's looking really, really clean. So last thing we got to do is just button up the walls and add the windows, and that's it. I've been doing every single building for the most part the same way. I just take the steel walls, I move them all the way across to cover up the logistics floor. And then I'll take a basic wall like this, and I'll just go ahead and fill up this one gap wherever the window is going to overlap. I just go ahead and take the basic wall just to make that a nice clean transition. And then last but not least, I go in and I grab the full frame window and I just run that across just like this until we hit that overlapping point, and because the connectors on the sides of the full frame windows are actually black, they actually just merge really nicely into the basic wall, and there you go, just like that. So I guess for the top, I can either leave these open. I might actually leave this one open because that right there, right next door, is also open. So then it's just a matter of actually just putting railings. I thought about doing a roof, but I feel like, you know what, let's not make it taller than it needs to be and then overshadow all of the nuclear power plants. I guess the one thing that I have forgotten, so like this is one side mostly complete. The one thing that I have forgotten to do is to mark up all the factory zones. So that would be like this. And that's not too difficult. It's just painting in between like that. I guess it's a little messy, but nice thing is I can just always overwrite it. And we have the ability to clean up the edges wherever you missed. Now, obviously I've kind of messed up this one here. Let's see if I ever find one I'm having trouble with, I just open this up and then I just get the side of the tile, and then that works out pretty nicely. So there it is. So that's one good one done, right? All right, I'm back, and there she is. This is making her electromagnetic control rods and dumping them off in the truck station down below. I guess the only thing that I haven't done, I haven't actually put in any sort of stairwell or access point or door or ladder. So I'm gonna definitely do that a little bit later, but you know what? I think it's looking really, really nice so far. I love the fact that it's so wide open. We've got the new use of signs. We've got the new use of pillars to delineate different sections for all the constructors. And then we come on up and it's just sort of like a nice, clean, open, working platform of assemblers. It seems like we're still saturating some things, but hey, we're getting there. Eventually we'll hit that saturation point. It's going to flow. And there we go. We've got our product at 20 electromagnetic control rods that we can just take on over and attach it to 4 other products right here. Next time on Satisfactory 1.0, we're going to be actually working with the quantum encoders. It's the very final step in our nuclear power plant project. It's been a very long time. It's taken me a very long time. I'm not the fastest, but I think it's turned out pretty nicely so far. And then we'll also take a more grand tour so that we can all just sort of like appreciate so I can appreciate the world and share it with all of you. So we did quite a lot today, and we are so close to the end of our nuclear power plant project. I am honestly very, very excited to see all 15 nuclear power plants on and running for the very first time, and then we can actually kind of zoom on back, take a nice breath, and see the whole thing all at once. I think it's gonna be really, really cool. A nice walk down memory lane, so to speak. So hopefully you enjoyed yourself. If you liked the episode, please feel free to like, share, or comment down below. It helps us a great deal. I had a total blast. I hope you did as well. And I can't wait to get into the next one with you. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.